Hi kids, hello everyone. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Hi kids, can you see me? Can you hear me? Yes. Hi everyone, can you see me? Can you hear me? Hello. Hi kids. I think you all can see me, hear me, right? So do quickly let me know in the chat section if I'm clearly audible and visible to you all. Hi, hello, hello, hello. Voice is clear, video is clear. Sure. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the session. Today we are going to start the plant kingdom, our third chapter. We have already covered two chapters in NEET Conquer batch, the living word and biological classification. And let me tell you kids, we have even revised the questions from living word and biological classification. So our next target is what? Our next target is the plant kingdom. Right, so plant kingdom, one of the most important chapters. You guys can expect 2 to 4 questions from this particular chapter, right? 2 to 4 questions are expected from this particular chapter. So are you people excited for starting it? Yes, everyone? Yes. So today I'm going to ask you the questions as well. Okay. I'm going to ask you the questions as well. Okay. So, ready with the NCERT, ready with the notes, ready with the NCERT, ready with the notes, and very less number of students are there. I don't know what you people are doing. Start revising these chapters properly, sincerely. Guys, we are explaining everything in detail in these marathons itself, right? We are taking sessions for 3 hours and 4 hours, and we are not just completing the syllabus or completing the chapter. We are very much focused on the quality content. And trust me, these lectures are very much helpful for your NEET examination because everything required for NEET examination is covered. Okay, it is covered. Okay, so today it is the first lecture of the chapter Plant Kingdom. And what are we going to target today? Today we will talk about the classification, basics of classification, like different systems of classification. This is what we are going to target. Then we will talk about the life cycle, because life cycle itself is a very important topic. Then we are going to talk about the algae, right? Bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and then comes the angiosperms. So this is what we have to discuss in this particular chapter, that is plant kingdom, isn't it? That is plant kingdom, isn't it? Isn't it? And today we will finish it till bryophytes. Clear? This is what we are going to finish today. Voice is not too good. Like, what is the issue with the voice? Yes? Is there any issue with the voice, bache? I have already shared the PDF in the last class. Guys, is there any issue with the voice? Okay, just a minute. Okay, I got it. Now I think it's perfectly fine. Right? Right? Now fine? Okay. So now let's continue. Let's talk about the plant kingdom. So let's start the revision from the basics basically. So you know that bache, we have 5 kingdom classification system that we used to revise, isn't it? What do we have? We have 5 kingdom classification system, right? We have 5 kingdom classification system. Okay, and this system is given by R.H. Whitaker. Who gave it? Who gave it? Yes, everyone, R.H. Whitaker. He was the one who gave the 5 kingdom classification system. This is the first point. Now, when it comes to the kingdom plantae is there from the starting. Right, even Carl Linnaeus in his 2 kingdom classification system, he has included the kingdom plantae. But later on, you know that after 2 kingdom, 3 kingdom was there, 4 kingdom classification system was there, and then 5 kingdom and 6 kingdom classification system is there. So now in our syllabus, we talk about the 5 kingdom classification system given by R.H. Whitaker. So what is the name of that kingdoms? So we start with the kingdom Monera, bache. Then there is the kingdom Protista. See, we will link all the chapters of diversity like this, right? Then comes the kingdom Fungi, then comes the kingdom Plantae, and finally what do we have? We have kingdom Animalia, right? Finally, what do we have? We have kingdom Animalia. This is what we have. Yes or no? This is what we have. Okay, so now in Monera, you have all the prokaryotic organisms, all the unicellular prokaryotes, and here from Protista to Animalia, you have eukaryotic organisms, right? What do you have? You have eukaryotic organisms. And now our focus is kingdom Plantae. So it is, of course, it is having the eukaryotic organisms. So majorly they are multicellular, right? They are multicellular. We have few exceptions of unicellular plants. Clear, bache? We have few exceptions of unicellular plants. This is what we need to know. Is that clear? Yes, everyone. Is that clear? This is what we need to know. Now, when you talk about the plants, one thing is very clear in our head. P for plants, P for photosynthesis. Isn't it? P for plant, P for photosynthesis. So, plants are the one. Plants are the living organisms which are going to perform the photosynthesis. It means in the presence of light, what will they do? They will make the food. Right, in the presence of light, what will they do? They are going to make the food. So they are autotrophic organisms, right? This is what we already know, isn't it? They are what? They are the autotrophic organisms. So here you all can see. So they are autotrophic. Yes, they are. They are non-motile. Yes, they are. Right, and they are multicellular eukaryotes with the cell wall and has larger central vacuole. Right, what do they have? They have larger central vacuole, right? So plant cell having cell wall, the cell wall which is made up of cellulose, there is one large central vacuole which will help in the growth also, right, bache? And the nucleus which is eccentric. Clear? Right, bache? So they are having the chloroplast in which chlorophyll will be there for the photosynthesis, okay, and they have different organelles for encourage reproduction, or you can say that in higher plants we will also see the different parts which will play in different roles. So this is what we need to discuss here in the case of kingdom Plantae. But before starting it, let's talk about few systems like artificial system of classification, natural system of classification, and phylogenetic system of classification. This is what we need to discuss first. Although I think in the chapter biological classification, even in living world, I have already explained the numerical taxonomy, the cytotaxonomy, right? But here in this chapter also we are going to revise it. Okay, so what are we going to start first? First of all, we will talk about the artificial system. So can you tell me what do you understand by this artificial system of classification? Yes, bache, Lahiri, Tabassum, Aarti, anyone in the class, what do you understand by the artificial system of classification? Yes, everyone. What do you understand by the artificial system of classification? What are we going to consider here in the artificial system of classification? Yes. What do you understand by artificial system of classification? Tell me. Tell me. Yes. Gross, superficial, morphological, Lahiri, what else? Tell me, what are we going to consider here in artificial system of classification? Whatever you know, just let me know in the chat section, everyone. Right? What do you know about this artificial system of classification? Okay? Tell me. Yes. So bache, obviously this system of classification, it was more or less. It was more or less. It was dependent on what? Gross morphological character. It was dependent on what? Morphological character, right? So more or less, it was dependent on what? Gross morphological characters. So now what is the meaning of gross morphological characters? It's very simple, right? It's very simple. Gross means superficial, right? Superficially, whatever we can see, on the basis of that, we are classifying the organism. See, you have to understand the meaning here. When it is morphological, morph means form, logy means study, right? Morph means form, logy means study. So basically the characters which are visible superficially, right, which we can see, right, on the basis of size, on the basis of shape, that is what we are going to consider here in artificial system of classification. Right, that is what we are going to consider here in artificial system of classification, right? Like here we will talk about the habit, we will talk about the color, we will talk about the distribution. Are you getting it? These are the things that we are going to consider. Okay, these are the things that we are going to consider for the artificial system of classification. Is that clear? Yes, bacho, is that clear? The habit, color, number, shape, right? Right? Habit, color, distribution, like shape, number of leaves, like this, right? Let me note down. Shape and number of leaves, etc. So such type of characters were considered, right? Even the color, they were even noticing the color. So that is why we are using the word gross morphological characters were considered. And moreover here in artificial system of classification, what have they done? They have given the equal weightage to, right, equal weightage to vegetative and sexual characters. Fine. Equal weightage to vegetative and sexual characters. Are you getting it? And it is not at all acceptable. Do you know that? It is not at all acceptable to prefer the vegetative and the sexual characters equally. Why is it so, bache? Because when you talk about the vegetative characters, so it is influenced by environment. Okay, it is influenced by environment. But when you people talk about the sexual characters, they are not directly influenced by the environment. Are you getting it? They are not directly influenced by the environment. That is the issue. That is the main problem. Okay, that is the main problem, right? So these are the drawbacks also in the case of artificial system of classification. So kindly note it down. It is even given in the NCERT. So let's have a quick revision of it. More or less, it depends upon the gross morphological characters. When it comes to the gross morphological characters, we are talking about the superficial characters like the shape of the leaves, the number of the leaves, the color itself, right? Even the habit, right? So that type of characters will be considered. And moreover here in artificial system of classification, equal weightage, like while classifying the plants, they preferred the vegetative characters as well, the reproductive characters as well, vegetative characters as well, the reproductive characters as well. And it is not okay to give equal preference to these two characters. Why is it so, kids? Why is it so? There is a simple reason behind. The vegetative characters can directly be influenced by the environment, but when you talk about the sexual characters, they will not. Okay, they will not, right? So this is the drawback also. I'm going to write down here. It is the drawback also. Got it? So this is about the artificial system of classification. So bache, any doubt here? Yes, any doubt here? Quick. Yes. Quick. Done? Okay. Sure. So bache, they can even ask you one question, that in artificial system of classification, do we consider phylogenetic relationship or not? Do we consider phylogenetic relationships? Do we consider phylogenetic relationship? No, we don't. Right? No, we don't. So this is also, you guys can write down that in the artificial system, phylogenetic, that is evolutionary relationships are not considered. Okay. phylogenetic relationship, or you can say that evolutionary relationships are not considered. This is what you need to keep in your head. Is that clear, bache? Is that clear? Done. So this is about the artificial system and the drawbacks. So even here you guys can read it. Gross superficial morphological characters, vegetative and sexual characters were given equal importance. So you guys can use these notes for the quick revision. Okay. So the next that we need to discuss is natural system of classification. Okay. It is the natural system of classification, and yes, it's a very important system as well. Are you getting it? We have the natural system of classification, and let me tell you, it's a very important system of classification as well. Now, when it comes to the natural system of classification, they are not just preferring the morphological characters. First of all, let me explain you this natural system of classification. Here in natural system of classification, along with external characters, they are also prioritizing the internal characters, right? Even the ultra anatomy is considered. They are just checking out the internal structure. Are you getting it? So not just the external features, along with that, internal features are also preferred, and which is, which is very important, because when we check the anatomy, obviously on the basis of that, we can even compare the similarities and dissimilarities with other plants also, isn't it? With other plants also. So second is what? It is the natural system of classification, which is also known as, yes, bache, do you know that the another name for natural system of classification? It is also known as horizontal system of classification. What is it? It is the horizontal system of classification, and even you can also call it as 2D system. Is that clear, bache? 2D system. Is that clear? So what is this natural system? It is the horizontal system. It is the 2D system. Right? Right, bache? Yes? Clear? Clear? Okay, so write down the points based on it. So natural, horizontal and 2D, that is two-dimensional system. So here in this system of classification, natural affinities among organisms will be considered, right? Natural affinity among organisms will be considered, not just external characters, but internal characters, right? Internal characters like embryology, embryological, anatomical, etc., they will be considered. So this is what you need to note down. Okay. Done, bache? So this is about the natural system of classification. So can you tell me who gave this natural system of classification? Yes. Can you tell me who gave this natural system of classification? Anyone here in the class? Tell me. So as I said, the embryological, the anatomical, right? So can you tell me who gave this natural system of classification? Anyone? Anyone? Yes? No, it's not. Very good. Bhagat, very good. Yes, this natural system of classification was given by Bentham and Hooker. Right? It was given by Bentham and Hooker. So in their book, right? So they were basically working in that botanical garden, I guess. Yes. And for that we use the word curatory. I don't remember the word exactly. Like those who work in these museums, in these herbariums or in these botanical gardens, we use a different word for them. So right now I am not able to recall that word, but I'll tell you in another lecture. And in second part, I'll definitely tell you about it. So Bentham and Hooker, they have given the two system. They have given the natural system of classification, also known as horizontal system or the two-dimensional system, right, bache? And bache, in their book Genera Plantarum, they used it. Okay, so this is the book that they wrote, Genera Plantarum. What is the name of the book? The name of the book is the Genera Plantarum. And if I talk about the the advancements of this, the betterment of this natural system of classification, so they kept the related groups all together. Like when you compare it with the artificial system, in the artificial system, the related groups, they were kept separately, right? Many related groups, they were kept separately. But when you talk about this natural system of classification, related groups were placed together. Okay, related groups were placed together, right? They even considered the phylogenetic relationship, that is evolutionary relationship. Okay, so phylogenetic relationship, it was considered, right? And along with that, they even checked the internal structure. So they gave preference to the sexual characters. Are you getting it? They preferred the sexual characters. Is that clear? Is that clear? Yes or no? Yes or no? Right? They even preferred the sexual characters. Okay? Okay, so this is about the natural system of classification. So embryological, anatomical, even phytochemistry. So they considered many things. So at many levels they compared. So basically, in short, if I have to define, so you can say that ultrastructure was seen. So when we use the ultrastructure, we are covering everything. Okay, we are covering everything here. Done, bache? We are covering everything here. But this system of classification, the system of classification was still not appropriate. Do you know that? This system of classification, even it was not appropriate. Like you cannot say that this is the system that we should follow. No, actually, what is the point here? In this system, the major drawback was in the natural system of classification, although they preferred external and internal both the characters, but still they kept gymnosperms in between dicots and monocots. As of now, you know that we study gymnosperms separately. Okay, we study gymnosperms separately, but in natural system of classification, while classifying the plants, right, what they did, they just kept the gymnosperms in between the dicots and monocots, which is there, which is the drawback. But still at many levels, we still use natural system of classification. It is so good, we still use natural system of classification, but this is the drawback that we need to ignore as of now. Are you getting it? Are you getting it? Yes, bache. Are you getting it? So in plant kingdom, when they divided seedless and seed bearing plants, so they kept gymnosperms as a class in between dicot and monocots, which is their major drawback. Let me write it here. Okay, it is important, kindly note down. So when they classified the plants, you know that kingdom is plantae. So kingdom plantae is having two parts: seedless plants, right? Seedless plants, and another point is what? Seed bearing plants. One is seedless plants and another point is what? Seedless plants. Clear, bache? Clear, bache? So in seedless plants, what is the word that we have? The word is cryptogams. Okay. For seedless plant, we also use the word cryptogams, and for seed bearing plants, bache, we use the word phanerogams. And it is important, please note down. It is important. Sometimes in paper you get the question like this: seedless plants, they are also known as cryptogams. Seed bearing plants, they are also known as phanerogams. Right? They are known as what? They are known as phanerogams. So here, when we talk about these seed bearing plants now, so in like one class was dicotyledons. So here they kept gymnosperms and then the monocotyledons. Are you getting it? Then the monocotyledons. Fine, bache? Fine. So it was their drawback. Clear? It was their drawback. So who gave the natural system of classification? Your Bentham and Hooker. Right? Who gave the natural system of classification? Your Bentham and Hooker. So it is basically accepted all over the India, but I told you what is the major drawback. What is the major drawback here? Okay? Done? Done. Yes, bache. Done? So this is it. This is what you need to focus. So in 3 classes, this is what they have done. Okay. So next is what? Next is the phylogenetic relationship. So obviously you know this word, isn't it? You know this word, phylogenetic relationship. Okay, phylogenetic relationship. So phylogenetic relationship, or you can say that phylogenetic system of classification. Right, it is phylogenetic system of classification. So it is also known as vertical system, bache. Right, it is also known as vertical system of classification. Along with that, it is also known as three-dimensional structure. Right, three-dimensional system of classification. Like your natural system is the 2D system, and this system is known as 3D system. So it was based on what? It was based on evolutionary relationship. It was based on fossil records. Obviously it will be more accurate than it is, right? It was based on fossil records, and along with that it was based on the genetic studies also. Are you getting my point? So when it comes to the phylogenetic relationship, what do we have? Right, evolutionary relationship will be considered. So it was based on what? Evolutionary relationship, genetic comparisons, genetic studies, genetic affinity, and the fossil records. Clear, bache? Clear, bache? So here it was, it was assumed that organisms kept in same taxa, they have same ancestors, right? Organisms in same taxa, you know, same group have common ancestors. Okay, they have what? They have common ancestors. So it is important. Done, bache? It is important. Clear? So can you tell me who gave this phylogenetic system of classification? Anyone in the class? Who gave? Bache, these are the general name, Bhagat. No explanation is required for it. Okay, so can you tell me who gave this phylogenetic system of classification? Yes. Who gave the phylogenetic system of classification? It is also PYQ. It is also PYQ. The first attempt was done by your Engler and Prandtl. It's a PYQ. Engler and Prandtl. Done, bache? Who gave the phylogenetic system of classification? Engler and Prandtl. Done? Done. So you know that on the basis of evolutionary history also we make one, family tree. Are you aware of this? Cladogram. Do you know the meaning of cladogram? Family tree on the basis of, it is basically a family tree on the basis of evolutionary relationship. Or you can say that on the basis of evolutionary history, the family tree that we used to make. Okay, the family tree that we used to make. This is important, note down. Okay. Ma'am, in NCERT, these become more important when there is no supporting fossil evidence. Can you explain, please, Sumati? This line is from this particular chapter, hai na? Don't worry. I have the NCERT snips also. We will discuss it. So, bache, now these three system of classification done. Yes, everyone. These three system of classification done. The artificial one, where vegetative characters were preferred. The natural system, where they focused on the ultra structure, like the anatomical structure, the phytochemistry. Even they have observed the embryological characters. Right. So it was given by Bentham and Hooker. Right. Genera Plantarum was the book in which they published it. Clear, bache? In which they published it. So they preferred the phylogenetic relationship also, and they kept many related groups all together. Okay. Okay, so it indicates that. Now the third one, the major drawback is that in the seed bearing plants, that is phanerogams, also known as spermatophyta. It is also known as spermatophyta. So they have kept dicots, gymnosperms in between the dicots and monocots, right? Gymnosperms in between the dicots and monocots. So the next is phylogenetic system, also known as vertical system, also known as 3D system. So it was given by the Engler and Prandtl, bache. So evolutionary relationship, it was based on, this is what you can write down. that this system was based on evolutionary relationship, fossil records, genetic studies, or the genetic affinity, right? So it was assumed that organisms in same taxa, they have the common characters. So on the basis of that evolutionary history, we used to make the family tree, and we used to call it what? We used to call it as cladogram. So do you have any doubt here, bache? Yes, do you have any doubt here? Yes, yes, yes. Done. So other than that, we have some other words also, bache. I hope you know about it. I have already covered it in living word or in biological classification, numerical taxonomy, cytotaxonomy, chemotaxonomy. Numerical taxonomy, also known as phonetics, also known as taximetrics. It is also known as phonetics. It is also known as taximetrics. Numerical. Here we are going to use the computers. What will we do, bache Jyoti? We will use the computers here, and whatever characters are observable, we are going to give number to it. In simple words, we are going to give number to it. Here you guys can see. So it is based on all the observable characters, the characters that you guys can observe, right? The characters that you people can observe. So numbers and codes are assigned to all the characters, and then data is processed by using computers. So whatever characters we can observe, we are going to assign them the numbers, and with the help of computers. So here we have the use of computers. What do we have? Here we have the use of computers. Are you getting it? Are you getting it, bache? So it is basically a numerical method, right? It is a kind of numerical method for the evolution of similarities. Numerical methods to compare and to study the similarities and the differences. Okay, similarities and the differences, right, bache? So each character is given equal importance, and 100 of characters are considered at the same time. So please take a screenshot of it. It is important, given in your book. So what are we discussing? The numerical taxonomy, also known as phonetics and taximetrics. There is another name also for this that we don't need, but phonetics you need to remember. Okay, so numerical, so it based on all the observable characters. So basically we are giving importance to all the characters. It's a very important point, and then we are assigning the number to it. Clear, bache? Clear, bache? That. So next is the cytotaxonomy, also known as karyotaxonomy, right? Cytotaxonomy, also known as karyotaxonomy. So bache, cyto word is related to the cell. So here what will you consider? You will see the number of chromosomes, their behavior during cell division. You will even see the number of chromosomes. See, it is based on cytological information, means cell information, like chromosome ka number, structure and behavior. What will we see here? The number of chromosome, the structure and behavior, and when will we study it? During cell division. When will we study it? During cell division. So that's the main point here. Okay, that is the main point here. And what is it? Cytotaxonomy. Next is what? Next is the chemotaxonomy. So chemo word is associated with the chemical study, isn't it? So it uses the chemical constituents of the organisms to classify the organism. So it is very much useful in the case of plants. So from the plants, we used to see the chemicals, right? On the basis of, similar chemicals, like let's say from a plant, you are getting one alkaloid, same alkaloid is there in another plant. So you can even assign them together. Okay, you guys can even assign them together. So this is about the chemotaxonomy. Okay. Okay. So chemicals will be studied there. Okay. Done. Chemicals will be studied here. Right, so here in chemotaxonomy, even the sequencing of DNA, let's say, because we have to study the chemicals, so sequencing of DNA, study of proteins, every minor detail we will consider. Obviously, it will be accurate then. When you are saying the chemicals present in an organism, so chemicals will include so many things. Proteins will be there, carbohydrates will be there, right? Even the nucleic acid is also the part. So here what are we going to do? The sequencing of DNA also, study of proteins also, study of different other chemicals also. Is that clear? Is that clear? So this is about the systems of biological classification. We will even revise it from NCERT. But again, if there is any doubt, do let me know, bache. And here, right, whatever points I'm writing, please note down. Please note down. Done? Sure, bache? Tell me. Clear? Do you have any doubt? Bache, you will find the old NCERT in the bookstores. And moreover, if you are not getting it, just download the PDF na. Download the PDF and use it then. It's not a big deal. You can just download the PDF. You can even take out the printout of that PDF. Be smart, yeah. Be smart. Okay, so the next, let's revise it from the NCERT. So you know that. So in the last chapter, we have already covered the broad classification of the living organism under the system proposed by R.H. Whittaker. So please focus here, right? It's in 1969. So they can even ask you the year. Although it is rare, but still they can. Okay, still they can. So R.H. Whittaker has given the 5 kingdom classification system in 1969. When? 1969, right, bache? Right. So animal, okay. So here in this chapter, you know that we will talk about the plants. Okay. So plant kingdom, you know that whatever is our understanding related to the plant kingdom, it has changed over the time, right? It has changed over the time. Like fungi and the members of Monera and Protista having cell walls. Earlier, you know, they were kept in the plant kingdom, but now we have excluded them from the plantae through, though earlier classifications place them in the same kingdoms. This is what you need to remember. As per the earlier system of classification, all the organisms having the cell wall, they will be in the plant kingdom. Organisms without the cell wall, they will be in the animal kingdom. But here with the time, with the advancement in that study, we realize that no, it is not true, right? We cannot put anything having the cell wall in the plant kingdom. That is why fungi and many members of Monera and the Protista, they were excluded. Okay, so cyanobacteria, which is blue-green algae, which is photosynthetic bacteria, it's not algae anymore. That's a very important point, bache. Cyanobacteria, also known as photosynthetic bacteria, blue-green algae, it is not a proper algae. It belongs to kingdom Monera. And let me tell you, many students, they make this mistake. Just remember it, bache, when you talk about blue-green algae, right? When you talk about blue-green algae, that is photosynthetic bacteria or cyanobacteria. It is the member of kingdom Monera. Okay, it is the member of kingdom Monera, but not, right? But not the member of kingdom Plantae. Basically, algae is there in plant kingdom, but blue-green algae is not the part of plant kingdom. Is that clear? Is that clear? Yes, bache. So earlier system of classification, they used only gross, superficial, morphological characters like habit, color, number and shape of leaves. That is what we have covered. Yes or no? Right. Their classification was based on vegetative characters or on the andrecium structure. Right? Or on the andrecium structure. So it was what? The system was artificial system of classification. So it is important for your exam. Please highlight this portion from your NCERT. Okay, it is important for your exam. Okay, so such systems were artificial. They separated the closely related species since they were based on few characters only. Okay, and they have given equal weightage to the vegetative and sexual characters, which is not acceptable. So it is important in assertion and reason based question, in statement based question, you guys can get questions like this. Okay, such questions can come. And next is what? Next is the natural system of classification or natural classification system. It was based on the natural affinities among the organisms. Right? Natural affinities, that comparisons will be done, the similarities will be checked, and bache, what will be considered along with the external features, internal features like ultrastructure, anatomy, embryology, phytochemistry, these things were considered. So it was given by Bentham and Hooker. Right? Bentham and Hooker. And here in the NCERT, please mention the drawback of the system of classification. Okay, do mention the drawback of the system of classification here. Done? Done. Now the next part. At present, you know that phylogenetic classification is there and it is based on evolutionary relationship. Okay, it is based on evolutionary relationship, and as per it, organisms belonging to same taxa have a common ancestor. So ultimately, whatever I am teaching you, it is as per NCERT. So start following the lecture, start following the NCERT properly. So with this session, always keep your big book with you and please take the notes of extra point. Okay, fine, bache. Fine, bache. So then comes the, okay, so okay, this line, one student was asking now. We know We now use information from many other sources too to help resolve difficulties in classification. These become more important when there is no supporting fossil evidences. Okay, so here they are just trying to explain that when it is the phylogenetic relationship, obviously we will go for the fossil evidences. Yes, Bache Srinathi, what will we do? We will go for the fossil evidences, isn't it? Of course. But if there is no supporting fossil evidence, then what we need? We use now in the phylogenetic relationship also, what we have started doing, right? What we have started doing, that now we have started using the information from many other sources too to help resolve difficulties in classification if there is no supporting evidence. Clear, bache? Okay. So next is numerical taxonomy, also known as phonetics, also known as taximetrics, which is based on the observable characteristics, and we have also covered the cytotaxonomy portion. So next we need to start the algae, but yes, before that we need to revise something else. So are you guys ready for that? Yes, are you people ready for that? We are going to make a flow chart basically. Okay. Sumati, all I'm saying is that in the phylogenetic relationship, if there is no supporting fossil evidence, right, so we can also use some other ways also, right? We can take information from some other ways and other studies we can prefer to classify the organism to make the classification easy. Clear, bache? Sumati, is that clear? Okay, the next point is kingdom plantae. Next point is kingdom plantae. What is the next point that we have? The next point that we have is kingdom plantae, right? So here we have algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, right? You need to remember it in a sequence, bache. Then comes the gymnosperms, and then we have the angiosperms, right? What do we have here? Yes, algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Repeat it, everyone. Just write down these names in the chart section. Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Just repeat these names, everyone. Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. So what is this? This is about the kingdom plantae. This is what we are going to study in kingdom plantae. So now you know that different types of plants are there, right? If you look around, you can observe it very clearly. You see the trees, you even see the small plants also, right? Some are herbs, shrubs, right? Vines. There are different things. There are different forms. So obviously, if we compare it with the animal kingdom, in the animal kingdom also different type of animals are there, isn't it, bacho? In the animal kingdom also different type of animals are there, isn't it? Different type of animals means, like if you look around, you will find lizard belong to the same kingdom. You will find cockroach belong to the same kingdom. You will find sparrow belong to the same kingdom. Cat, dog, cat, dog, right? Horse. So they belong to the same kingdom, Animalia. Even let's not talk about these dog, cat, horse. Let's talk about the butterfly, right? Lizard, spiders, right? Spider, jellyfish. Okay, so see, they all belong to the same kingdom. Why? Because we are going to observe certain characters. We will see the similarities as well. We will see the dissimilarities as well, but ultimately we have to see some general characters. So same is the case here. If I'm going to talk about the kingdom plantae, so if I have to classify the organisms in kingdom plantae, first of all I will see some general characters, right? Okay, that these characters are present here, or you will say that I'll check the embryological evidences, accordingly I will put it in the plantae. Now again here I'm differentiating it like this: algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Obviously again I will monitor some other characters. Like here, if I give you the rough idea, so what will we consider here? We will even consider that in the plants embryo is present or absent. That which plants are having embryo, in which plants embryo is absent. I hope you know the meaning of embryo. This is what I'm assuming right now. We will even see whether the vascular tissue right? Vascular tissue is present or absent. You know vascular tissue? Do you know vascular tissue? Vascular tissue means here we are talking about the xylem and phloem. What are we discussing here? We are discussing the xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem, isn't it? Isn't it? And embryo, see, embryo present or absent, vascular tissue present or absent. Okay, so other than that, we will even consider whether seed is absent or present. We will even see the life cycle, right? We are even going to see the life cycle. So accordingly, we will keep it in different groups. Fine. Accordingly, we are going to keep it in different groups. So now on the basis of these characters, let's make a flow chart, right? In this way, you will be able to understand the things in detail. Okay, let's talk it in that way. But above all, just remember the sequence. So all of you just type it in the chat section. Just all of you, please type it in the chat section. Quickly, just type it in the chat section. The sequence: algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, and then comes the angio, right? Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Everyone just repeat. Yes, algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, angio. Quick. I hope it's clear. Okay, done. Fine. So let's make a flow chart. So the very first thing that you need to consider is the embryo point, right? What we need to consider? The embryo wala point. Let me explain this to you. So ultimately what is happening in the sexual reproduction? There will be the gametes, the sperm, the egg, right? It will fuse. There will be the formation of zygote, and that zygote will always be diploid. That is the scenario, that is the story. Understand the story. Huh? I will make it very easy. See, in today's class, we will start with the life cycles, and then we will go for the algae, bryo, pterido, gymno, and angio. Right? Before understanding the algae, bryo, pterido, you should know about the life cycles first. Okay, you should know about the life cycles first. So accordingly, we will go. So now just focus here. So what am I saying? I'm saying that sperm and egg, gametes there, they will get fused, right? So they will get fused. What will you get? You will get zygote. Now let's say this zygote, if it will develop, if it will grow, like compare it with the humans. In the case of humans, you know that zygote will undergo cleavage, right? The zygote will undergo cleavage, it will start dividing, and then after many stages, right, if sometime initially you will get 2 blastomeres, then you will get 4 blastomeres, then you will get 8, 16, right, 32, 64, like this it will grow. And then after that, Jyoti, after that, what is the word that we are going to use? The embryo. Now this zygote is growing, the cell number is increasing. Initially the size will not increase, but later on it will increase. So obviously what will you say? That zygote is growing, and now these stages are what? They are the embryo, right? They are the embryo. And even if I talk about the humans, so in the humans, how do we start? We talk about the zygote first, then what do we say? Embryo, right? Zygote, then comes the embryo, then there will be the fetus, and then there will be the final human being, isn't it? Isn't it? That's the whole story. Zygote, then embryo, then fetus, then the human being will be there. Then the human being will be there, isn't it? Now let's say if this zygote is not undergoing cleavage, if it is not growing further. Okay, now let's say the zygote is not growing further. It is not undergoing the cleavage. So what is going to happen? Then ma'am, if it is not growing, then what can happen here? Let's say here the zygote, it is undergoing meiosis. It is undergoing reductional division. It is undergoing meiosis. It is undergoing the reductional division. Okay, it is undergoing the meiosis, it is undergoing the reductional division. So what will happen here? Right, you will get haploid spores, yes or no? What will you get? You will get haploid spores, yes or no? You will get haploid spores, yes or no? Quick everyone, Aarti, Jyoti, Diya, Lehri, Lakshmi. Fertilization, zygote, reductional division, and then there will be the formation of haploid spores. So it means, can I say that now in this type of life cycle, can I say that the embryo is absent? Yes, bachcho. Can I say that the embryo is absent? After zygote, there is no embryonic stage. Embryo is absent. Yes or no? Yes or no? Of course. So we will see the plants in which actually the embryo is absent. We are going to see some examples. Okay. Done. And yes, the zygote which is undergoing meiosis. The zygote which is undergoing meiosis, which is undergoing reductional division, that zygote is known as zygospore. That zygote is known as zygospore. Is that clear? Is that clear? Do not compare it with the zoospore. Zoospore is something different. I'm talking about the zygospore here. Right? The first word is zygote. So zygote. So zygospore means when zygote is going to form the spore. And how will it form the spore? Right? How will it form the spore? It will undergo the reductional division. What will it do? It will undergo the reductional division. Clear, bache? Clear, clear, clear? Sure? Yes, everyone. Are you sure? Okay. Done? Sure, done? Right? So we will see the plants where the embryo is absent. Now you must be thinking that, ma'am, why are you teaching us this? Because we are going to start from the life cycle. Then we will talk about that flow chart and the algae. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the life cycle in the case of plants. First of all, what we have to discuss? We need to discuss the life cycle. Different type of life cycles in plants. Okay, so the very first life cycle that we need to study is Haplontic life cycle. Okay, Haplontic life cycle. What is it? It is Haplontic life cycle. What is it? Yes, bache Jyoti, what is it? Haplontic life cycle. Okay, clear? Clear? It is Haplontic life cycle. Done, bache. Now Haplontic, the word haplo means haploid. Here what are you talking? You are talking about the haploid organisms. See, I'll give you a very simple example. If you talk about the human beings, right? Let's consider the example of human beings. Now in the case of human beings, how many chromosomes do we have? We have 46 chromosomes. Yes, we have 46 chromosomes. You know what? When I was in class 10th, I still remember this. You know, when I was in class 10th, in my final board exams, there was a question for 1 mark in which they were asking that how many chromosomes are there in humans. So instead of writing 46, I mentioned 45 chromosomes there. I made this mistake. Right? Or, yeah, 45 or 44, I guess. 44. This is the kind of mistake that I've done in my final board exams. Just imagine. Just imagine. Hai na? Too bad, na? Too bad, na? Humans, how many chromosomes are humans have? They have 44 chromosomes. Oh, 22 pairs, 44 chromosomes. Bad, na? Very bad, na? Chalo, now focus here. So you know that in the case of humans, 46 chromosomes are there. 46 chromosomes means 23 pairs. Am I right? 46 chromosomes means 23 pairs. Am I right? Yes. 46 chromosomes means 23 pairs. 23 pairs. Isn't it? Isn't it? Now, you know that, let me try this. Okay. So what is going to happen basically? So what is the story here, right? So you know that at the time of gamete formation, father will contribute 23 chromosome, mother will contribute 23 chromosome, and at the time of fertilization in zygote again it will become 46. So if you talk about the human body, right? If you talk about Aarti, about the human body, so you know that each and every cell, living gametes, right? Living gametes, each and every cell of my body will having the diploid set of chromosomes. Yes or no? Yes or no? Each and every cell of my body will be having the diploid set of chromosome. If I don't talk about the gametes, of course, we will be having what? We will be having diploid set of chromosome. In each and every cell of my body, I'll be having 46 chromosome. Just forget about the gametes right now. Okay, just forget about the gametes. So we are the diploid organisms, right? We are the diploid organisms. In the higher organisms, this is what you are going to see, right? In the higher animals, this is what you people are going to see. Now, when you talk about the plants, not all the plants, right? Now, when you talk about the plants, not all the plants are having diploid body. Not in all the plants, you can say that they are diploid. No, some plants, they are also haploid also. Haploid means their main plant body. What is the meaning of haploid? Their main plant body is haploid. Main plant body is haploid, means their thallus is haploid. Like in the case of algae, right? Like in the case of what? Like in the case of your algae. Okay, algae. Now see, algae. You all have seen it, that green structure, right, on the stairs. Yes, even on the stairs, sometimes we see these depositions. The stairs, of course, which are not covered with the tiles, you will see the depositions. If let's say if there is a wet area, right, like let's say there is a water tank, near to that water tank, if there is any kind of leakage, you will see that greenish structure. So sometimes you will see algae, you will see even the bryophytes there, right? So now when you talk about the algae, the main plant body, right, what is the point here? The main plant body is haploid. Main plant body is what? Main plant body is haploid. And in the case of algae, we also discuss that plant body is not differentiated. But I will connect everything all together. Just right now, just listen to me. Just try to understand this. So plant body is not differentiated into two root, stems and leaves, right? Plant body is not differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. So you know that for such type of plant body, the word that we use is, it's thallus-like, right? It's thallus-like, isn't it? Plant body is not differentiated into true root, stem and leaves. So plant body is thallus-like, means we will say it is thalloid. We will say it is thalloid. Are you getting my point? It is thalloid. So if I have to draw some algal structures, it will be like this. Not properly differentiated into root, stem and leaves. It will be something like this, right? It will be something like this. And here, mostly you will see multicellular organisms. Mostly you will see multicellular organisms. Exceptions are there. I'm not saying that exceptions are not there. Exceptions are there. Like your chlorella, which is a unicellular algae, right? Which is a unicellular algae. But again, majority of organisms are multicellular. Majority of organisms are multicellular. So Jyoti, here we are talking about the multicellular organisms. So yes, if you talk about the cells, they will be haploid. They will be haploid. Right? So if you will check the ploidy, what is it, Jyoti? Cells are haploid. This is what you need to keep in your head. Now, these haploid cells, Cells are already haploid. Now they need to make the gametes. What will they do? They will go for the mitosis or they will go for the meiosis. What will they do? I am saying that here we have the plant body. Here we have a thallus. I am saying that this thalloid structure, this thallus-like body, it is multicellular. Each cell is haploid. Now this needs to form the gamete. So what will it do? What will it do? Already it is haploid. So obviously if there will be the gametogenesis, if there is the requirement for the gamete formation, right, if there is the gametogenesis, so gametogenesis will occur but by a mitosis. Which division will be there? Mitosis will be there. Which division will be there, Lehri Bache? Mitosis will be there, isn't it? Isn't it? So what is the meaning of mitosis? It is the equational division. Right, it is the equational division in which daughter cells will have same number of chromosomes like the parent cell. Am I right? Guys, I want to see the energy here. Right, at least interact with me. Whatever questions I'm asking, just give me the answer. So here what will happen? Already a plant body is haploid. It is haploid. So if it needs to make the gametes, it will not go for meiosis because meiosis will always occur in a diploid cell. Meiosis is the reductional division which will always take place in the haploid cell. So here with the help of mitosis, it will form the gamete. So we will be having the male gamete and the female gamete. Let's say this one is the male gamete and this one here is the female gamete. Okay, this one is the male gamete, this one here is the female gamete. So obviously you know that what will happen next? Next will be the fertilization. Next will be the fertilization. So here in the case of algae, after fertilization, we will be having the diploid zygote, but this zygote will not grow further. This zygote will not grow further. It will not form embryo. This zygote here will undergo meiosis because main plant body is haploid here. So what will happen here, bache? Here, this zygote will undergo meiosis, undergo reductional division. So we can say that, yes, we can say that, right, it will undergo reductional division. So we can also call it as zygospore, isn't it? We can also call it as zygospore, isn't it? Isn't it? And what will you get? You will get haploid spores here. And that haploid spores will again germinate and they will form the haploid thallus. They will form the haploid thallus. So this is also a type of life cycle that we see in the case of plants, and for such life cycle, right, for such life cycle, we use the word haplontic life cycle, right? For such life cycle, we use the word haplontic life cycle, right? It is haplontic life cycle. And the best example is, as I said, algae. Okay, as I said, algae. Which life cycle it is? It is the haplontic life cycle. Is that clear? Yes, bacho, is that clear? Haplontic life cycle. So zygote will not form the embryo here. It will directly undergo the reductional division. It will form the haploid meiospores here. Right? It will form haploid meiospores here. So this is the meaning of haplontic life cycle. Is that clear? Sure, bache. So see, the dominating phase is this haploid part. Hai na? Hai na? So haplontic life cycle. So the terms that you need to remember here is, there are two terms that you people need to remember here. One is gametophyte, another is sporophyte. Right? One is gametophyte, another is sporophyte. So bache, what is the meaning of gametophyte? Gametophyte means which will form gamete. The structure which will form gamete. Sporophyte, which will form spore. Right? Like in the case of angiosperms, we used to say na pollen grain. Pollen grain is the male gametophyte, means it will form the male gametes. Okay, it will form the male gametes like this. So gametophyte which will form gametes, sporophyte which will form spore. So another important thing is gametophyte is always haploid, sporophyte is always diploid. Right? Gametophyte is always haploid, Jyoti. Sporophyte is always diploid, right? Gametophyte is always haploid. Sporophyte is always diploid. This is what you people need to remember. Okay. This is what you people need to remember, haploid and diploid. So now if I talk about the haplontic life cycle. So haplontic life cycle you will see in the case of algae. So here can I say that it is the gametophytic phase? It is the gametophytic phase which is dominant. Gametophytic phase dominant means it is the haploid phase which is dominant. It will acquire more place in the life cycle. It will be for the longer duration in comparison to the diploid phase. Can we say so? Yes or no? Can we say so that it is the gametophytic phase which is dominant when the life cycle is haplontic? Yes, when the life cycle is haplontic, can we say that? Can we say that it is the gametophytic phase which is dominant? Yes or no? So sporophytic, when it comes to the sporophytic generation, that is your diploid phase. Sporophytic generation, that is your diploid phase, right? So can I not say that here that zygote is the only cell of sporophytic generation? Zygote is the only cell of sporophytic generation. And of course, it is dependent on gametophyte, right? It is dependent on gametophyte. So here we are saying the gametophytic phase is the dominant one and it is the independent one, right? It is not dependent on anyone. So if it is independent, of course, it is going to perform the photosynthesis by its own. So it will be photosynthetic also. It will be photosynthetic also. Is that clear? Yes, Jyoti, Lehri, Sushmita. So gametophytic, independent, photosynthetic, right? Sporophytic generation. Zygote is the only cell of the sporophytic generation here. Zygote is the only diploid cell here and it is dependent on gametophyte, right? It is dependent on gametophyte. Clear? It is dependent on gametophyte. Yes or no? Sure? Sure? Okay, let's check it out. Let's check it out. So we are talking about the plant life cycle and alternation of generation. So bache, what is the meaning of alternation of generation? Alternation of generation means sometimes you will see the haploid phase here, sometimes you will see the diploid phase, or sometimes you will see sexual phase, sometimes you will see asexual phase. So now in the case of plants in their life cycle, at times there will be the haploid phase, right? And sometimes there will be the diploid phase. That is why we use the word what? We use the word alternation of generation. Yes, clear bache? So we are talking about the plant life cycle and alternation of generation. So what is the meaning of alternation of generation? That in the life cycle of plants, the haploid and the diploid phase will alternate. Sometimes haploid, sometimes diploid phase will be there, right? Sometimes haploid, sometimes diploid phase will be there. Is that clear? So when it comes to the haploid phase, the term that we use is gametophyte. When it comes to the diploid phase, the term that we use is sporophyte. So sporophyte is going to form the spore, gametophyte is going to form the gametes, right? Gametophyte is going to form the gametes. So we have already discussed the haplontic life cycle, right bache? So even in the last chapter, biological classification, do you remember in the case of dinoflagellates and diatoms also I have discussed this haplodiplontic and diplontic life cycle? Do you remember? In the last chapter in biological classification also, we have discussed the haplontic and diplontic life cycle. Haplontic in the case of dinoflagellates, diplontic in the case of diatoms. So please start revising these type of, please start revising the chapters. Okay. So what is alternation of generation? Where both haploid and diploid cells are found in every generation. So plant is going to alternate in between the diploid sporophyte and the haploid gametophyte, and between sexual and asexual reproduction. Clear bache? Between sexual and asexual reproduction. Okay. So now we will talk about the stages here. So as I said, diploid sporophyte will be there. So sporophyte will be present in the sporangium, right? It will have a structure that is sporangium. So sporangium undergoes meiosis. Okay. Directly let's start it from the haplontic phase. You will understand it in a better way. So these are the diagrams, bache. These are the diagrams given in NCERT. Very important they are. So start revising. So here you can see the haplontic life cycle first. Okay, you people can see the haplontic life cycle first. So see, gametophyte, it will do gametogenesis, and you know that it will do it with the help of mitosis, right? With the help of mitosis, there will be the gamete formation. Gamete will fuse, syngamy is there, you will get the diploid zygote. So as I said, zygote is the only cell of sporophytic generation, so it will undergo meiosis. So it is zygospore, right? Spores will again germinate and again new plant will grow, right? Haplontic life cycle. See, this is the diagram from NCERT na bache. So this is the haplontic life cycle. Is that clear? It is the haplontic life cycle. So sporophytic generation is represented only by one-celled zygote and free-living sporophytes are absent. Clear, bache? Sporophytes are dependent on gametophytes. They are not at all free-living. The only cell of sporophytic generation means the only diploid cell in the case of plant is what? Zygote it is. Clear, bache? It is zygote. So haploid spores will form by meiosis, right? And then it divide mitotically to form the gametophyte. So like we have the haploid spores. I told you the spores will germinate. So these spores will divide by mitosis. They will increase their number. Slowly it will grow as the gametophyte, or you can say that as the algal thallus. Okay, as the algal thallus. That is how it will grow, right? So dominant photosynthetic phase in such plant is the free living gametophyte. So examples are given: Volvox, Pyrogera, and some species of Chlamydomona. So examples are important, and you really need to understand what is the meaning of haplontic life cycle. So if there is any doubt, kindly let me know. Yes, if there is any doubt, please let me know. Clear, bache? Yes, is that clear? Sure. If there is any doubt, do let me know. Sure, done. So this is about the haplontic. Now next life cycle is the diplontic life cycle. Next is what? It is diplontic. It is diplontic. Right? It is diplontic. Okay, so diplontic life cycle is very easy. But you will find such type of life cycle in the case of your gymnosperms and angiosperms. Where will you get it? In the case of your gymnosperms and angiosperms, there will be the diplontic life cycle. Now here in diplontic life cycle, what is the scenario? The main plant body is going to be diploid. Like let's say here you are having a plant, right? So main plant body, right? Main plant body is diploid here. Directly compare it with algae, right? You need to directly compare it with the algae. Like in the case of algae, we were saying that the thallus is haploid. The thallus is haploid. The main plant body is haploid. So it is the diplontic life cycle here. So now here the main plant body will be diploid. So can we not say that it is the sporophytic generation which is dominating? Right? Sporophytic generation, that is diploid generation, is dominating here. Right? It is dominating here. Right? Main plant body. So here, okay, so it is the sporophytic generation. So now you know that what is the scenario. You can even relate it with the class 12th sexual reproduction in flowering plant wala topic. We talk about the flowers there, we talk about the anther there, we talk about the ovary there. In the ovary, ovules are there. In the anther, we talk about the tetrasporangiate. We even discuss the microsporangium in which spore production will be there. So ultimately, what is going to happen here, bache? The main plant body is diploid. Sporophytic generation is dominating. So here you will see sporangium, right? Here you will see sporangium. Sporangium means the structure in which spores will form. right? The structure in which spores form. What is it? The structure in which spores form. That is sporangium. That is sporangium. Are you getting it? So now what is going to happen here in this sporangium? Spore production. Now in this sporangium you will see some MMCs. MMCs means megaspore mother cell or microspore mother cell. What will you see here? Megaspore mother cell or microspore mother cell. Ultimately, what I want to explain here is, like, let's say we have one plant. Here in this plant we will be having some reproductive structures, right? We will be having some reproductive structures, and here in these reproductive structures, right, some structures will be there in which spore formation will occur, and we used to call it as sporangium. We used to call it as sporangium. I'm not telling you the it in detail. I'm not telling you it in detail. So that will be what? That will be sporangium. So now in these sporangium there will be some diploid cells. Some diploid cells will be present here, right? MMCs, megaspore mother cell, microspore mother cell. So these diploid cells will undergo meiosis. They will undergo meiosis. So they will form spores, haploid spores. Are you getting it? They will form haploid spores. Are you getting it? Can you understand? Are you able to understand? So we are saying there is a plant. Plant will be having the reproductive structures. In that reproductive structures, we will see sporangium. The word sporangium, we use this word. What is the meaning of sporangium? The structure in which spore will form. What is the meaning of sporangium? The structure in which spore will form. So now, here in the sporangium, how that spores will form? In the sporangium, we will be having some diploid cells. Some diploid cells which are having the potential that they can undergo meiosis. They can undergo reductional division. Right? Right. So in sporangium, what is the story? We will be having some diploid cells, that cells which can undergo meiosis. So megaspore mother cell in the case of female, microspore mother cell in the case of male. One by one we will discuss it. So they will undergo meiosis. Okay, it will undergo meiosis. We will see the gametophyte. Right, that can be, one celled or few celled stage. One celled or few celled stage. Now in this gametophyte, because it is already haploid, you will see some gametes. So now that gametes will fuse, fertilization will occur, diploid zygote will form, zygote will again grow into that plant. So this is diplontic life cycle. What is it? It is diplontic life cycle. I'm explaining it again. Main plant body is diploid. So we can say that sporophytic generation is dominating. It is independent. It is photosynthetic. Can we say so? It is dominating. It is photosynthetic and it is independent. It is independent. Now, sporangium. Over this plant, over the sporophyte, we will be having the sporangium. The structure in which spores form. So, in sporangium, there will be some diploid cells. These diploid cells will undergo meiosis and we will be having some haploid spores. Is that clear, bachcho? Is that clear? So this haploid spore here, it will form gametophyte, right? Male and female gametophyte accordingly. Gametophyte, because it is haploid, it will form haploid structure, that is gametophyte. Gametophyte is haploid basically, na? So gametophyte will do what? Male gametophyte will form, like let's say if it is a male gametophyte, let's say if it is a female gametophyte. So of course, the male gametophyte will form what? The male gametophyte will form male gametes. The female gametophyte will form female gametes. So this gametophyte is one celled or few cell stage, and this gametophyte is dependent. It is totally dependent on sporophyte. Right? It is totally dependent on sporophyte. Is that clear? It is totally dependent on sporophyte. So now the male and the female gametes, they will fuse. Fertilization will occur, of course. You can also use the word syngamy also, although there is a difference, but okay, there is no need to know that. Okay, Okay, so there will be the zygote formation. So now you know that this zygote will grow mitotically, right? The zygote will grow mitotically, form embryo, and finally again it will form the plant. So this is the diplontic life cycle, right? This is the diplontic life cycle where diploid phase, sporophytic phase is dominating, where gametophytic phase is dependent. Okay, so the examples here are gymnosperms and the angiosperms. We'll talk about the exceptions, but major examples we need to discuss first. Any doubt? Any doubt? Again come to the NCERT. Diplontic life cycle. Diplontic life cycle. So here you people can see the sporophyte is the dominating photosynthetic phase. Sporophyte which will form spore. So I told you how will it form spore. So first point is it is going to do the gametogenesis. Right, it is going to do the gametogenesis, right? So obviously the diploid cell like megaspore or microspore mother cell, they will undergo meiosis, they will form haploid spores that will further grow. That is a detailed process that we will discuss in angiosperms. But roughly on sporophyte, because it is diploid, gametogenesis will occur by a meiosis. You will get haploid gametes, they will fuse, zygote, and again. Is that clear? Is that clear? So here in this flow chart we have explained it in detail. Okay, okay. So gymnosperms, angiosperms are the examples. So bache, one algae, one exception is also there. Do you know that? Algae, fucus. Which algae? Fucus. So fucus is an algae. Fucus is an algae having diplontic life cycle. Fucus is an algae having diplontic life cycle. Fucus is what? Fucus is an algae having diplontic life cycle. Is that clear? Yes, bacho, is that clear? Fucus is an algae having diplontic life cycle. Okay. Done. So here you can see the gametophytic phase is represented by single to few celled haploid gametophyte. Diploid sporophyte is dominant, photosynthetic, independent, right? So examples are also given. So if there is any doubt, please let me know, bacho. Do you have any doubt here? Yes. Do you have any doubt here? Sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Good evening. Okay. Chalo, let's go. So now let's talk about the next life cycle, that is haplodiplontic life cycle. Right. Next life cycle is what? It is the haplodiplontic life cycle. What are we going to discuss? We are going to discuss haplodiplontic life cycle. Yes, bache. One student is saying, ma'am, there is a doubt. A dominant phase is independent because it is performing the photosynthesis, Jyoti. Okay. Next. Yep. Next. Any other doubt? Nope. Done. Okay. So next is haplodiplontic life cycle. So obviously from the word haplo, you can understand haploid phase. From diplo, you can understand diploid phase. So basically the plants in which, you know, the haploid and diploid phases of equal duration. Okay. It is of equal duration, or you can say that, let's say if a plant is having the life cycle of 20 hours. So for 8 hours you are having haploid phase, for 12 hours you are having diploid phase, like this, right? Like this. So this is just one example. So when you talk about the haplodiplontic life cycle, so both the haploid and the diploid phases dominating. Okay, so the examples are your bryophytes and the pteridophytes. What are the examples that we have here? The bryophytes and pteridophytes, they used to show haplodiplontic life cycle. Okay, bryophytes and pteridophytes, they used to show haplodiplontic life cycle. Is that clear? Is that clear? Now, in the case of bryophytes, do you remember which include your liverworts, your mosses? Yes. Your pteridophytes that include the ferns. Okay, so in the case of bryophyte, right, firstly write it down, then I'll explain it. It is the gametophytic phase, like it is the haploid phase. It is the gametophytic phase or the haploid phase, which is dominant, photosynthetic, independent. Done. In the case of bryophytes, it is the gametophytic phase, the haploid phase, which is dominant, photosynthetic and independent. Clear? And sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte, totally or partially. Here the sporophyte is dependent on gametophyte, either totally or partially. Either totally or partially. And moreover, sporophyte here is multicellular. It is not unicellular like algae. It is going to be multicellular. So it is dependent on gametophyte. First point clear? It is dependent on gametophyte. Now when you talk about the pteridophytes. So in the case of pteridophytes, bache, what is the story? Here, main plant body, or you can say that dominant phase. Here, what is the story? Main plant body is sporophyte. Main plant body is what? It is sporophyte, which is, you know, photosynthetic, dominant. Main plant body is the sporophyte, the diploid phase. It is photosynthetic, it is dominant, it is independent. But in the case of pteridophytes, one point is very interesting. You know what? There is one point which is very interesting here in the case of these pteridophytes. As I said, main plant body is sporophytic, photosynthetic or independent. So along with that, just a minute, bachcho. Okay, so even gametophyte is independent and free living. No doubt, main plant body is your sporophyte, but here in the case of pteridophytes only you will see this. Okay, in the case of pteridophytes only you will see this. So main plant body is sporophyte, photosynthetic, dominant and independent. Even gametophyte is independent and free living. Here even the gametophyte is photosynthetic, independent and free living. Whenever we use the word independent, means it can perform the photosynthesis. Then that is why, right? That is why it is independent now. Whenever we use the word, yes, whenever we use the word independent, it means it can perform photosynthesis. It can cook its own food. Okay, it can cook its own food. So that is the point here. So this is about the haplodiplontic life cycle. So here, like let's talk about the bryophytes. So bryophytes, amphibians of plant kingdom. Okay, bryophytes, amphibians of plant kingdom. So main plant body is again thallus-like. Main plant body is thalloid, thallus-like, not differentiated into true root, stems and leaves, and it is haploid. Main plant body is haploid, right? Main plant body is gametophytic. It is haploid, it is gametophytic, right? Main plant body is thalloid, like thallus like. It is haploid basically, means gametophytic. Now what will happen? Mitotically it will form gametes. Yes or no? Mitotically it will form gametes, of course. So that gametes will fuse. They will form a diploid zygote. Yes everyone. They will form a diploid zygote. Yes or no? In the case of bryophytes, what is the scenario? You will be having the main plant body. You will be having the main plant body. Here you guys can see, right? So this main plant body is haploid. So if it is haploid, means it is gametophytic. So it is the gametophyte which is independent photosynthetic phase here. So mitotically, you have to focus on these words. Mitotically it will form gametes. So these gametes will do what? They will do the fusion. They will fuse together, right? They will, okay. Done bache, done. This is the story. So now this zygote will grow. It will grow. This zygote will do what? This zygote will do what? It will grow. So obviously it will become multicellular. If it is growing, it will become multicellular. Now you can compare it with algae. Right? Right. Focus. We will see. Firstly, focus here. We will discuss it. So what is going to happen here? Let's see. Just give me a minute. See here. Sporophyte. Yes, it is the gametophyte which is the main plant body. So gametophyte by a gametogenesis will form the gamete. Again fertilization, zygote will form sporophyte, and then there is the meiosis. And this is what we are discussing. So just have a look. So main plant body is gametophytic. See, whenever main plant body is gametophytic, it is the mitosis which will form gamete. Right? Whenever the main plant body is gametophytic, always remember it is the mitosis which will form gamete. Right? It is always the mitosis which will form. Gamete. Because main plant body is haploid here. So a haploid cell cannot undergo meiosis. It is always the diploid cell which will undergo meiosis. Okay, it is always the diploid cell which will undergo meiosis. So here you people can see the haploid cell. Mitotically it will grow. It will form gametes. Gametes will fuse. Basically fertilization or syngamy it is. You are getting diploid zygote. Now compare it with the algae. In the algae, after zygote formation, what was happening? Yes, bache. Jyoti, in the case of algae, after the zygote formation, what was happening? Yes, what was happening there after the zygote formation? Quickly answer it, bache. Quick, answer it. Obviously, spores were forming. Zygote was undergoing meiosis. Right? Meiosis was taking place in the zygote and we were getting the spores. Right? The spores were there. But here, the zygote is growing mitotically. It is increasing its cell number. It is becoming multicellular here. In the case of haplontic life cycle, the zygote was the only cell of sporophytic generation. It was the zygote only because it was undergoing meiosis. But here, if you look at the diplontic life cycle in the bryophytes, so here you people will see the zygote will grow. The zygote will grow. It will become multicellular. So basically, it will form some structure. Right? What type of structure it is going to form? The diploid structure. Right? A proper, capsule, foot, seta, capsule. Remember this? Foot, seta, capsule. This is what we are going to get here. So basically, foot, seta, capsule. So basically, this is the multicellular sporophyte. So in the case of haplontic life cycle, unicellular sporophyte is there. Zygote is the only cell of the sporophytic generation, but here our sporophyte is multicellular. It is having foot, it is having seta, it is having the capsule. And now here in this capsule, there will be some diploid cells which will undergo meiosis. So now in the sporophyte, okay, now in the sporophyte, right, what will happen? Meiosis will occur. So meiosis will occur. So what will you get? You will get haploid spores, and that haploid spores, they will germinate and they will form the gametophyte. Clear? Clear? So haploid spores will form by meiosis, and these haploid spores, they will germinate, and what will we get? We will get this gametophyte. Gametophyte. Done? Okay. Okay, so that's the whole story. So this is bryophyte. So this is the haplodiplontic life cycle in the case of bryophyte. Okay, this is the haplodiplontic life cycle in the case of bryophyte. Now in the case of pteridophyte, main plant body is sporophyte. But so sporophyte will undergo meiosis, spores will form, spores will grow, will form gametophyte, then gametes, and then the whole process will be repeated. Okay, the whole process will be repeated. So here you can see the main plant body is thalloid, thallus-like, right? So it is the gametophytic phase which is dominant, which is independent, which is photosynthetic. So now mitotically this gametophyte will form the gametes. Now these gametes will fuse together. We will get the zygote. Zygote will grow here. How will it grow? It will grow mitotically. It will increase its cell number. So now after its growth, because this zygote is diploid, so when it will grow, when it will become multicellular, of course it will form diploid structure. Of course it will form diploid structure. So it is going to form multicellular sporophyte. So now in this sporophyte, this type of sporophyte, we will get seta and capsule. Now in this sporophyte, there will be some cells, right, which are capable of making the spores. So these cells will undergo meiosis. Right, after meiosis, after reductional division, they will form haploid spore. So each haploid spore, after dehiscence from this sporophyte, the spores will release, these spores will germinate, and again you will get this type of plant body. So this is the haplodiplontic life cycle in the case of bryophytes. Right, so both phases are present here, haplontic phase also, haploid phase also, diploid phase also. Fine. So in pteridophytes, the story is little different. So here you can see it is the diploid sporophyte which will be dominant, independent, photosynthetic and vascular. It will alternate with multicellular sporophyte which is again independent, but it is short-lived. Okay, so gametophyte is also there. It is independent. It is not dependent on anyone else. But again, as I said, it will be short-lived and it is independent. These two are the important features. So now let's make a table, bache. Let's make a table and then write down all the points. So see, first is algae, second is bryo, third is pterido, then comes the gymnosperm, then we have the angiosperms, then we have the angiosperms. So now in the case of algae, the life cycle is haplontic. Let's revise it very quickly, bache. Here in the bryophytes, the life cycle is haplodiplontic. Here in the case of pteridophytes also, the life cycle is haplodiplontic. And in the case of gymnosperms and angiosperms, the life cycle is diplontic. Let's revise it very quickly, bache. So I think first of all, you people should know about the life cycle. The first point clear. Now the next point. Next point is here the main plant body. Main plant body is gametophytic. So main plant body is gametophytic means it is haploid phase is dominant, right? Main plant body is gametophytic means haploid phase is dominant, yes or no? Haploid phase is dominant, yes or no? It is the haploid phase which is dominant, yes or no? Like I said, main plant body is gametophytic, and zygote is only cell, only diploid cell or only cell of sporophytic generation. Sporophytic generation means diploid generation, right? Sporophytic generation means diploid generation. Clear, bache? Now the next point. So haplodiplontic. So here main plant body is, bache, tell me quickly. Main plant body is again gametophytic means haploid phase is dominant, independent, photosynthetic, and sporophyte, right? Sporophyte, it is not unicellular here, it is multicellular, is dependent on gametophyte. Am I right? It is dependent on gametophyte. Clear, bache? Is that clear? Now here main plant body, in both the cases main plant body is the sporophyte, which is diploid, multicellular, which is diploid, which is multicellular, right, bache, which is photosynthetic, and gametophyte is one or few celled stage, right? One or few cell stage and dependent on sporophyte. So if it is dependent means it is not free living. Now here it is the haplodiplontic life cycle. It is the haplodiplontic life cycle. So main plant body is sporophyte or sporophytic or diploid, but here the main, again the important point here is, right, bache, but here again the main point here is that gametophyte is independent and free living. Gametophyte is also independent and free living, but short lived. It will survive for less time, but yes, it is independent. Done, bache? Clear? So you guys can compare. See, if in algae and bryophyte main plant body is gametophytic, so sporophyte is dependent on that. Then gymnosperm and angiosperm main plant body is sporophytic and gametophyte is dependent on them. Now here the middle one is your pteridophyte. Here the main plant body is sporophytic, but gametophyte is independent, free living and short lived. Is that clear? So this table is very important, right? It will help you out in the quick revision. Now we will focus on the exceptions, but as of now just tell me, is that clear? Aarti, sure? Sure, Aarti? Sure? Right? See, bryophytes and pteridophytes are haplodiplontic, but some algae like your Actocarpus, like your Polysiphonia calps, they are also haplodiplontic. So these exceptions are important to remember. Okay, these exceptions are important to remember. Clear, bache? Done? Sure. But in pteridophytes, I've already explained it, na? Haplodiplontic life cycle is there, and it is the table. It is the table where all the important points are explained. Okay, so now we need to start the algal portion. Okay, we have to start the algae, but before that we will make one flow chart. Okay, so up to this part, if there is any doubt, do let me know. Quick, but be quick. If there is any doubt, do let me know. Tell me. If there is any doubt, do let me know. No doubt? Sure? Sure. Okay, so as I said, in the case of plants, obviously on the basis of certain character, we will divide them. So in the case of plantae, the very first point that we can consider, right, is the presence of embryo, isn't it? The very first point that we can consider is the presence of embryo. Let's make it properly, है ना? Is the presence of embryo. So if embryo is absent, if no embryo is there in the case of plants, so we have the example of algae. Correct, bache? We have the example of algae. If ma'am is the independent gametophyte and pteridophyte, the reason why, obviously, yes, Jyoti, and the heterospory is also the reason for the seed habitat. Done. So embryo absent means it is algae. Now, if embryo is present, then what's the scenario? Then it means we have bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperms, angiosperms. Yes or no? If embryo is present, it means we have bryo, pterido, gymno, and angio. Yes or no? Yes or no? This is the one way. This is the one character to categorize it. Now let's go. Let's talk about the next character. If next is vascular tissue absent. Okay, if vascular tissue is absent, or first character is embryo present. Okay, second character is bache vascular tissue is absent. So vascular tissue is absent, it means it is your bryophyte. Vascular tissue is absent means it is your bryophyte. What is it? It is your bryophyte, because vascular tissue is absent means your xylem and phloem is absent. Xylem and phloem are absent basically. Xylem and phloem are absent. So xylem, which is required for the transport of water and minerals, right? Xylem. Phloem, which is required for the transfer of food and water, basically for food, right? For the organic food. So when it comes to the vascular tissue, we are talking about the xylem and phloem. This is what you guys can write down. So now here, if vascular tissue is present, then obviously then we have the pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. And bache, the plants in which vascular tissue is present, we use the word tracheophytes for them, right? We use the word tracheophytes for them. If in the plants vascular tissue is present, that is xylem and phloem is present, then we use the word tracheophyte. Okay. Okay. So now the next category is seedless or seed bearing. Okay. Next category is seedless. That it is having the vascular tissue, but again it is seedless. Right, it is having the vascular tissue, it is having the xylem and phloem, but it is seedless. And for seedless plants, as I said, we use the word cryptogams. For seedless plants, the word that we use is cryptogams. Okay, so in this category, we have pteridophytes. right? In this category, we have pteridophytes. Now come to this part. They are seed bearing. So for seed bearing plants, we use the word phanerogams, or you can also call them as spermatophyta. What is it? They are phanerogams or spermatophyta if they have the seeds. So now again here we have two categories. One is naked seeds, another is covered seeds, right? One is seeds are naked, that is your gymnosperms, no flower is there, and seeds are covered, flowering plants, the most advanced plants, your angiosperms. So now bache, any doubt? See, so how to revise from this flow chart? If embryo is absent, then algae it is. So here in the case of algae, that is how we can revise now. Here in the case of algae, embryo is absent, vascular tissue is absent, seeds are absent. Can we revise it like this? In the case of algae, can we say so? Embryo is absent. See, first character is absent there, embryo. So even along with embryo, vascular tissue, seeds, everything is absent here. Everything is absent here. Now move to the next character. Now let's talk about the plants in which embryo is present. You have bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms. You have bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms. But in the case of bryophytes, vascular tissue is absent. Right? In the case of bryophytes, your vascular tissue is absent. Right? Bryophytes are not having your xylem and phloem. They have the embryo, but they don't have the xylem and phloem. So can we say that these are the seedless plants? Algae and bryophytes, they are the seedless plants, and they are even the without vascular tissue. Can I say that? That algae and even the bryophytes, they are without xylem and phloem and without seeds. They are without xylem and phloem and even without seeds. Even without seeds, right? So next, vascular tissue present. So the plants in which vascular tissue is present, we use the word tracheophyte. So in tracheophyte, there are again two categories, seedless and phanerogams. Seedless, for seedless plants, we also use the word cryptogams. So here you can put your pteridophytes. So in pteridophytes, embryo is present, vascular tissue is present, but seeds are absent. Embryo is present, vascular tissue is present, but seeds are absent. And even pteridophytes are the first successful land plants. Right? They are even the first successful land plants. So, bache, it's a kind of overview. Okay? It's a kind of what? It's a kind of overview. Okay? Okay? Done? So, here you people can see phanerogams, spermatophyte, naked seeds, gymnosperms, non-flowering, seeds covered, flowering, angiosperms. So this is the overview. Any doubt? Yes, do you have any doubt? Bachcho? Clear? So before starting the algae, tell me if there is any doubt. We can discuss that and then we will talk about the classification of algae. Tell me, do you have any doubt? Sure. Are you sure? Yes. Yes. Yes, it's a sloth here, bache. See, it is showing the symbiotic association of algae and the sloth bear. It helps in the camouflage. Okay. So here we are just checking one example where, so basically algae, it can grow on animal body. It can grow on plants also. This is what we are discussing. It is not gorilla. Literally, it is not. Trust me, it is not. Fine. So we need to talk about the algae. So when you talk about the algae, you know that these are the basic, these are the simplest type of plants. Okay, photosynthetic, of course photosynthetic they are, that is why it is in the kingdom plantae. So in the algae also we will talk about multicellular plants, but yes, there are few exceptions like your chlorella, which is a unicellular algae, which is highly nutritious also. Right, in the space astronauts used to use it. And in the algae we will talk about the three classes. What are we going to discuss? We are going to talk about the three classes, like we will talk about chlorophyceae. Right, what are we going to discuss? We will talk about chlorophyceae, that is your green algae. We will even talk about the phaeophyceae, that is your brown algae. Right now I'm just giving you the overview, then we will discuss it in detail. Okay, and then we will talk about the red algae, that is your rhodophyceae. What is it? That is your rhodophyceae. Is that clear? That is your rhodophyceae. Okay, bache, because that algae is proteinaceous. Okay, source of food it is. So in algae, we will talk about the chlorophyceae, we will talk about the phaeophyceae, and we are going to talk about the red algae, that is your chlorophyceae. Is that clear? Is that clear? And you know the general characters that we have already discussed, that it is without embryo, it is haplontic, right? It is without embryo, it is haplontic, done, without xylem and phloem. That, right, this is what we already know. Clear, bache? Clear, clear, clear? Sure, sure. So rest we will discuss in the part 2. Okay, today this is what we are going to cover. Rest we will discuss in the part 2. Fine. In part 2 we will start from the algae, bryo, pterido, gymno and angio. We will complete it in one go. Fine. So till then you all can revise this portion. Today we have covered the taxonomy, we have covered the life cycles. Life cycle is very important to understand. Many times students are not able to differentiate that they don't even know the meaning of gametophyte and sporophyte. Right? They don't even know the meaning of gametophyte and sporophyte. So see bache, in NEET Conquer batch, right, all the teachers, they are following the schedule, right? So we are teaching you the chapters properly, the quality content we are providing you. So now it's up to you. So what you have to do after the class, you need to solve the questions, and if you have doubts, then put it in the comment section. We all used to check the comments and then we will answer it as well. Okay, and as per your demand, we will create another sessions. We will discuss your problem. We will cater all your problems. But please start revising it properly. Done, bache? Start revising it properly. So this is what we have covered today in part 2. We'll complete the rest of the portion. And this chapter is important. 3 to 4 questions can come in paper. So 3 to 4 questions means, let's say 4 questions means 16 marks. Okay, 16 marks. And the algae portion is very important. Life cycle portion is very important. Exceptions are very important. Done? Exceptions are very important. Okay. So tell me if you guys are having any other doubt. Tell me, do you have any other doubt? Yes. Do you have any other doubt? Sure. Sure. So can we end the session now? If there is any, just let me know. Okay, I'll ask you the question. Who gave the 5 kingdom classification system? The simplest question ever. Who gave the 5 kingdom classification system? Who gave the 5 kingdom classification system? Yes. R.H. Whittaker. Okay. Who gave the 4 kingdom classification system? Who gave the 4 kingdom classification system? 4 kingdom. Now I'm asking about the 4 kingdom. Copland. Very good. So who gave the 6 kingdom classification system? Who gave the 6 kingdom classification system? 6 kingdom classification system. Carl was. Right. So in the 6 kingdom classification system, give me the name of the highest. Give me the name of the highest category. In the 6 kingdom classification system, just give me the name of the highest category. highest category, domain. How many domains were there? How many domains were there? How many domains were there? 3. Can you name them? Can you name them? Can you name them? That is archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Right? That is archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Clear? These are the name of 3 domains. Archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Okay, archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Right? So that's all. That's it for today. Do let me know in the comment section how was the session. If there is any doubt, please post it there.